been going their whole team meeting about Bold and building it up. We just in our market center played the video that you provided for us a few weeks ago, which is amazing. And so the first question I have for you is, why is Bold so important in Q4 right now?
Can you hear me on your side okay?
Absolutely.
We can.
Okay, perfect. Great. There's a couple things, right? I mean, number one, let me say it this way. It's been my pleasure to be a Bold coach since the very beginning, since 2009, when we first prototyped Bold. I've been coaching it and teaching it across the country since then. I've been a part of every rewrite. What I like about what we're doing right now in Bold is it's almost going back to the very beginning of our roots, because Bold was written in a shifting market. Like you look back in 08, 09, and we were very much shifted. And that's what Bold was originally designed for. The very original intent was, what could we take to our people in the field, because it was too expensive and too time consuming to have them all come to Austin all the time. And so that's really where Bold began. And the question was, Gary asked, what do we write and design that goes to the field and helps them move forward? The biggest piece, to answer your question directly on why Q4, to some degree, we've already written the rest of this year. On one hand, by taking Bold with me this fall, you will end 2022 as strong as you possibly can. But I don't even want that to be the real issue. The real issue is, how do you have an incredible 2024? How do you have an incredible 2025? To do those two things, 2023 has to be really good. I was on the call the other day with Gary, and we were going through some challenges that I have in my expansion business. And he was talking about Keller Williams, and he said, blah, 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 2029. And I went, what? And he goes, yeah, 2029. That's how far out that guy is looking, planning, building. And then you build the years in between here and there. And I think that's one of the most overlooked things that we do as realtors, right? Like, we're very much in the moment. And part of our career demands that. Contracts, home inspection, negotiations, listings, challenges, buyers, sellers, other agents, appraisals coming in high or low, like all the stuff. But if we don't stop once in a while and back out of that and say, wait, hang on a second, self, time out. How do I want this thing to look in 2 or 3 years? If it were a sports team, we would say, how do I want this team to look in 3 seasons? Meaning my team, meaning my business and your business. And then we say, great, these years have to be, now if we were a sports team, we would treat those years like building seasons. And for some people that come to Bold this fall with me, what I want you to do is I want you to look at 2023 as a building season. That doesn't mean that you can't make great money. You can make incredible money, but you can only do so much in a short amount of time. We tend to overestimate what we can do in a year, but we completely underestimate what we can do in 3 or 5 years. So to be honest, I can help you sell more homes this fall. We were just finishing up Denver Bold. We have one more week. I got one more Tuesday, I think is when I'm there, this coming week. And they're on pace right now in this market. And now in Denver, 64% of their listings in August had a price correction. 64%. And we're beginning to see that more and more common around the country. I was on a mastermind this morning with Gary, getting ready for tomorrow's top agent private masterminds. And what we were talking about was, what are the three best practice negotiation tactics that work right now? They might not work in 2 months or 6 months, but they work right now. In a market that's figuring out who it is today, we're using things that may not work in February or March or next June, but they work right now. And what we're going to do during this round of Bold, with your permission, is we're going to teach the Bold course, and we're going to teach the current Bold course, but some of it's going to change week to week, depending on exactly what's happening in the market. The other piece is this: there's a handful of plays that you could put in motion right now that only work during the holidays. And we teach those during this fourth quarter Bold. There's no sense in teaching that in January, because you're not going to use it in January. But because it's an October, November Bold, what we're going to do is we're going to say, great, here's what you do right now during the holidays, including on the second week on step number 2, we're going to take about 45 minutes, and I'm going to share with you the best practices for a holiday marketing plan. Like, what do you actually do with all of your listings? I'm also going to help you. This will be on step number 3 of Bold. We're going to build out what you do so that when you hit the first of the year, you could go and have 6 or 8 or 10 seller listings already backed up, pre-signed, pre-ready to go from all the people that say things like, let's wait till after the holidays. I mean, you and I are already beginning to hear that. And we're going to get it more and more and more throughout October and November. I'm going to give you a handful of scripts and dialogues and a best practice, a model, if you will, so that January 1st, January 2nd, you can go out and grab those 8 or 10 listings, but you have to do the work on this side of it. So I want you to think, what does it look like? You hit January, you've had the best fourth quarter you could possibly have. But to some degree, the fourth quarter is kind of already over. The things you and I are doing right now are March of next year, April of next year, June of next year. But how would it feel to have the best Q4 you could, but walking into January of next year with 8 or 10 or 15 seller listings that you already have backed up? What does that feel like to your business? That's what I want you to think. When you look at doing this round of Bold with me, one of the things I want you to consider is this. If you come to all 7 steps, I've made this commitment since the beginning of time as a Bold coach. If you come to all 7 steps, you do the work, meaning you don't foul out. You actually participate like an athlete. You do the work, you do the workouts. I'll give you the workouts. And if you do them, you'll make money. Those guys in Denver, they're averaging 14 pieces of business per student, 14 during 7 weeks of Bold. 14. How does it feel if you go and do 14 pieces of business or additional business between October when we launch and the end of the year? For some people, that's an entire year's worth of production in just 7 weeks. We're doing that right now in Denver. You can do the same. Every time I've taught Bold in the Sacramento area, we've always been double digits. 12 would be on the low side, 17 and 18 would be on the high side. Let's say that you're just average right now, just average, something in between. You can come through Bold with me. If you do the work, you can expect 14 or 15 pieces of business in just 7 weeks. The problem is you got to go and do the things you don't want to do. And that's what makes Bold so critically important. In Gary's words, it gets you to do the things that you know you ought to do, that you know you should do, that left to our own devices, most of us won't do. Imagine having a trainer that drags you to the gym and forces you to lift and forces you to work out. And then every time you have food in your hand that you shouldn't, she smacks it out of your hand. That's what it's like being in Bold right now. We're going to put you in an environment that you can win. So if you come to all 7 steps, and I'll leave you with this thought, you come to all 7 steps, you participate full on. At the end of the 7 steps, if you walk up to me and you go, hey, I really enjoyed it, it was great, but if I could go back to the beginning, I wouldn't take it again. In other words, I wish I had my money back instead. As long as you do all the work and you don't foul out, I will write you a check on the 7th step. Now, I've offered this for 12 years. Do you think I've ever paid one? Heck yes, I've paid one. For sure, I've paid one. I've paid 4 or 5. You can't make an offer and not at some point, like for all of us as agents, if we offer to sell someone's home or sell it for free, we're going to do some free deals. If we offer to sell someone's home or we buy it from them, we're going to buy some homes. So I've 100% written a few checks. But I have graduated thousands upon thousands upon thousands of students who have walked out and said, this is awesome. So that's the best risk reversal I can give you. You got nothing to lose. I do need you to bet on yourself. And as the market continues down this correction, we really haven't even started yet. We're beginning to see the telltale signs. We're beginning to see the writing on the wall, but we're not anywhere near even really in it yet. We're going to be bringing back all the things that were old, but they're new again. That's why you take this Bold. Quite frankly, your business needs it. Quite frankly, you deserve it. I'd love to see you there. I'll show up every week. I'll coach my heart out. If you do the work, you're going to make the money you're looking for. That is as close as I can get to a sales pitch.
No. You're amazing. I think you can only, I don't know what you can see on your end. If you don't mind, can we ask you just a couple more questions?
You can ask anything. That's right, because you asked one question and then I talked for 9 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, you're amazing. I loved it. We all loved it, and I think you can only see me. But for someone who has taken Bold before, and they say, I don't have time in my business, I've already done that, what would you say to that agent?
What was going through my mind was how dumb of a statement that is. I I mean, if I could see somebody's face and they said that, I could read their body language, which is 74% of communication, and I would know how to respond. But if you know me, I would immediately say that's a dumb statement. Like that's a very limiting belief. The truth is, you don't take bold. The rookie takes bold because they don't know what it is. But that's not why you take bold. You take bold as a professional because look at it like this. Amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals, no. We practice till we can't get it wrong. And professionals make more money than amateurs. You look at a professional athlete, they don't need to know how to dribble a ball. They've been dribbling a ball their entire life if they're in the NBA. But they practice the dribbling skill not because they already know it, but because they want to know it deeper. That's why a professional takes bold 5, 6, 10, 15 times. That's why the veterans in the business say, I got to be in bold. Now, my veterans who have been around for a long time, the reason you want to be in bold is we're bringing back all the stuff that used to work that works again right now. You're about to have for sale by owners again, which is awesome, but you're about to have FSBOs again. You're about to have expireds again. You're about to practice price corrections again. 91% of all realtors who roam the earth have never sold homes in a market that had south of a 40 average days on market. North of a 40 average days on market, meaning 91% of all realtors have no idea what it looks like to sell a home or to be in business when you've got to list homes and you have them for 2 or 3 months. By the way, it's not till you get to 5 months that you're even considered a historical buyer's market. We're very much a buyer-friendly seller's market. Like that's what we really, really are. So again, that's a very long answer to, for me, a ridiculous question. Like we don't take it because we don't know it. We take it because we know it and we want to know it deeper. It's like peeling back an onion, but no one goes to the gym and gets the 1-day pass and goes, cool, I'm done. Doesn't work like that.
Hey, Amy in Sac Metro, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to hog all the limelight. I'm sure you guys in SAC have some questions for Cody as well. You want to throw some out there?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask Cody?
I already told the first question that it was dumb. So now no one's like, I'm out, man. I'm out. He's already said I'm dumb. I'm not doing it. Such an open, inviting, warm environment.
But I think that attracts people because that's the honesty that some of us need. That it's like a 2x4 that just gets us.
Listen, I'm going to sell 144 homes or 145 homes this month in my group, and I wake up and tell myself that half my thoughts are dumb. Like my outward conversation is my inside dialogue. I'm talking to myself because I have the same thoughts. I think the same things.
I'm so sorry. We do have a question here at Sac Metro.
Cody, so you answered the question already on taking it in a second time or anything. This will be my 4th time and other people's, multiple times. I haven't taken it yet with you, but what separates you from other bold coaches?
Every coach brings a little different flavor. Even though it's the same material, every coach kind of does their way of coaching. I'm quite often described as being incredibly authentic. What you won't get with me is a bunch of the rah, which some people love that, and I like it too, but it's not who I am on the inside. And so there's 4 phases of energy. There's high positive, low positive, there's high negative, and there's low negative. On step number 4 or 5, I'll go through how those 4 phases of energy affect every single presentation you and I go on. But as a coach, I'm constantly in the low positive. I don't do you won't see me like running around and my hands up in the air. Like I like it. It's just not authentically me. And so I'm quite often described as a coach as being incredibly authentic. I'll tell you, man, I struggle with this. Here's the 5 things I'm really doing poorly right now. And here's what I'm doing to fix it. So very authentic. And the other thing that's quite often said about me as a coach or a speaker is every time somebody gives me their reasons, I hold a mirror up and put it right back in their face. But it's not, I don't mean it to be rude. And my heart doesn't mean it to be rude. But the challenge is if you and I argue for our limitations, and we both have them, but if we argue for our limitations, we get to keep them. So be careful the limitations that you argue for. If you're getting everything you want out of life and out of business, for heaven's sakes, you can tune me out completely. But I'm for sure not getting everything I want out of life and business. And if I don't change my habits, I'll never change my future. So as a coach, that's what's quite often said about me. And some people love the rah-rah and the high energy and jumping around, and I like it. It's just not me. But I won't let you get away with anything. Like, I'll hold you accountable. I'd rather be your coach than your friend.
I love that. That's fantastic. Cody, have you?
Plus, I'll make jokes about the 49ers every week. Is it too soon? It's too soon, isn't it? All right, whatever. Too soon.
I have a question, Cody. How many times have you taken Bold before you were a Bold coach?
We didn't have Bold before I was a Bold coach.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you started.
Like, I was out, like the only Bold session we had before I went out and taught was the initial launch that Diana Kokoska did as a beta test. And so I was coaching Bold back in the old days when we would get the material on Sunday night for a Monday morning presentation. And then we'd stay up all night and practice the material so that we knew what we were saying the next day. So I never had a chance to take it as a student before I was coaching it.
Okay, that's wonderful though, because now you can tell us what's the difference between Bold then and Bold now.
Well, here's what happens, and this is good for today, really good for today. I can't help myself because I've taught it for 12 years. And so bits and pieces of 2012 or 2014 or 2015 or 2018 comes out every time I teach. Sometimes when I'm coaching Bold, the other day in Denver, I went on this rant and I was like, wait, hang on a second. We haven't taught that since 2010. But it was completely applicable to the market right now because the market's sliding back towards some of the things that we were doing in 2010. And so it's all up here. It's just a matter of dropping it in and playing it. Like I've said all of it 1,000 times. It's just a matter of where to apply it. But we're beginning to do price corrections. And I was teaching in Denver the other day in Bold, and I was teaching the best practice. And this isn't in the Bold material right now because we haven't written it into the Bold material yet, but I was teaching the best practice of how our best listers are getting price corrections signed right now at the listing table, and what you do to set that up to where you're not fighting for price corrections or lowering prices later.
That's fantastic. Does anybody
Now on
else
step
have-
number 4, either 4 or 5, I'll have to double check the new material, but on either step number 4 or 5, we're going to spend 2.5 hours, maybe 3 if we have enough juice, but 2.5 hours on nothing but lead generation tactics that you don't hate. In other words, you're going to walk out with like 30 or 40 ideas, and I just need you to pick a few of them. You can't pick 40 for heaven's sakes. None of us are going to do 40 of them very well, but out of 40, you'll be able to pick 3 or 5 or 7 that you go, all right, I like those. I could totally do those. Those work for me.
Thank you so much. Now you have a team, an expansion team with new agents all over the country entering into this market. What are you instructing them is their best course of action to get into business fastest?
2 things right now. You got to remind yourself that you're in a contact sport, which means whoever has the most number of contacts at the end of the day is going to win. We're all working more hours for the same result. We're all doing more lead generation for the same result. I'm personally coaching one of my own top agents who is working to get back to $60 million in volume. She used to do 60, and then 2-3 years ago, kind of the wheels fell off, and then she stopped and had some personal whatever. But she's on her way back to 60 million in production. And what we're finding is what used to take her 5 or 10 conversations or contacts is taking 20 and 25. And so she either has to A, reduce her goal, or B, increase her effort. Well, for anybody who's done 60 million in volume who wants to go back, you know they're choosing B. And so as unsexy as it sounds, we're having to make more contacts. We're up earlier, we're up later, we're working on Saturdays and Sundays again, like we're squeezing in the time. One of the things I'll teach on step number 6, which I just taught in Denver, was how do you find the minutes in between? For a lot of us, it's not that we have lots of hours throughout the day that are being unused. We're not hanging out watching daytime TV on Tuesday afternoon for 3 hours. If you are, then stop and just start working and you'll be rich. But if you're not, then it's not a matter of finding 4 hours that you were doing nothing. It's about finding 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes here. And when you add that together, you go, wow, I got 10 more hours every week if I'm just careful. And the model we call that is the minutes in between. Now, it'll take me about 45 minutes to go through what that means and how to look for it, but I'm just giving you an idea of one of the things we'll talk about. But it is more contacts. Now, the problem is it contacts for contact's sake or contacts for contract's sake? If these contacts don't lead to deals, you can't pay your mortgage with a contact sheet. You can't go to Wells Fargo and say, here, pay my mortgage. I contacted all these people. Look at all the conversations I had. That doesn't pay a mortgage. Deals pay mortgages. And so first we make the contacts, then we start tracking. Are we setting appointments? If we're not, then we're either A, bad at converting to an appointment, or which we can fix, or B, we're making contacts in the wrong place. And one of the things we're finding right now is that a lot of our agents are making plenty of contacts, but they're not setting appointments. And the reason is they're contacting people that don't need our help. And it's like fishing in a river with no fish. You could be the best fisherman or fisherwoman. You can have the best bait or the best lure, but no fish means nothing being caught. And so we're having to go back and look and say, wait, listen, should we even be fishing here? Let's go fish over in this river where the fish are, then we're going to catch fish. And as silly as that sounds, we have to make the contacts first. Once we do that, then we can work on the rest. Other times we're fishing in the right river, but we have a conversion problem. Okay, great. Keep fishing there. Let's fix the conversion problem. That's what we're going through in our group. And it's hard. Like, it's hard. I won't lie to you. It's hard. But you know what's harder? Failure. That's harder.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for answering those questions. Back to you, Alexis.
Sweet. We had a question come up. We've been talking about a lot of business here in Bold, but we know that there's a personal aspect as well, that Bold's not just all about business. Can you talk a little bit about the value that's given in Bold and how it'll affect our personal lives and our families as well?
What I can give you is I can give you historical, empirical data experience. I rarely have somebody walk up to me and say, I'm so excited that I sold 14 homes during Bold. Even though that's a common number, no one says that. What they do is they walk up and they point to the board and they go, I'm like, we did 15 pieces of business. That's awesome. But what I'm really excited about is I haven't smoked a cigarette for 45 days. What I'm really excited about is I'm in a different place with my kids than I was 7 weeks ago. What I'm really excited about is I put this relationship back together with this person or this marriage back together. Like, that's what shows up. And the reality is the reason that happens is there's an old truth. And the old truth is this: when you get better at one thing, you get better at all things. It's just like if you've ever had a time in your life that you lost a little weight, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 50 pounds, like whatever, right? As you begin to lose weight, what you find is you get better there and you get better everywhere. Nobody gets better at one thing. The antithesis is also true. When you begin to slide back in an area, like you go back to old habits, and we've all been there, or you go back to something that you beat at one point in your life, but now you're battling it again. You don't just get worse in one area, you get worse in all areas. And the Bold law that we talk about is how you participate in here is how you participate everywhere, which is why in Bold, when we start improving our business, our personal lives grow. And the Bold law there is we grow, our businesses grow to the extent that we do, which is why in Bold, if we teach for 7 hours on a Tuesday, or your sessions are on Wednesday, I think, if we teach for 7 hours on a Wednesday, 3 hours or 3.5 hours is very tactical business. Like, do this, push this button, pull this lever, say this thing, make this call. Like, it's very tactical, very strategic, right? The other 3 or 3.5 hours is who am I becoming? You see, I was taught by one of the greatest leaders in my life that who you're becoming is more important than what you're doing. After all, you're a human being. You're not a human doing. That's why when our people walk out of Bold and 5 years later they say, or 2 years later, they say, Bold changed my life. Lots of people can say, hey, I made more money. Hey, I paid off my house. Hey, I built a great big team. All that stuff comes and goes. If you do what we ask you to do, you'll make the money. If you do what we ask you to do, you do the workouts we prescribe, you're going to get the muscles you want. You're going to get the business you want. The easiest thing on earth is to sell the 10 or 15 homes in 7 weeks. If you do what we ask, the 10 or 15 homes will almost sell themselves. That's the easiest part. Who are you becoming? That's what matters. That's why so many people say with so much adoration, I love Bold, or Bold's been incredible. That's why. It's not because they made more money. Money's just money.
I think that is a fabulous point to wrap up on, because our room is stunned in silence. I don't know about you and Amy in Sacramento.
If I was Forrest Gump, I would say all that and then say, that's about all I have to say about that.
And then just the meeting over.
I miss Forrest Gump. What a great movie.
That is amazing. Well, thank you so much, Cody, for getting us your time and pouring into us for the last half hour. We are so thrilled to see you here in Roseville, and Sacramento will see you in Roseville as well. But we are so fortunate to have you come pour into us for the next 7 weeks to create new habits, get us into more high-level production, and also become better people because of Bold. So
I'll leave you with this thought, and I hope I see you there. Please come and be my guest. Remember, you don't choose your future. You choose your habits, and your habits will show you to your future. That's why you take Bold.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, it's my pleasure. We'll see you next time.